Hi, everybody. It's Brandi. So good to see you today. Welcome to the first day of the week. It's Monday, and today we're going to talk about fear, and we're going to talk about how fear impacts our lives and like where fear is necessary and where there are opportunities to kind of think about if fear is positively influencing your life. So we'll give everyone a couple minutes to join here. And just a quick reminder, I'm a happiness coach. And I know that everybody knows like the fundamentals of how to be happy, like meditation, gratitude, prioritizing relationships that mean the most to us. But a lot of people are still unhappy. So I teach people how to apply the core fundamentals in a way that actually works for them. And I have this really great gift of helping people bring awareness to that which is unknown and interfering with them, like really being truly happy, right? And as we raise our happiness set point, then we will find that life just kind of flows in this really beautiful way. And so, especially for people who've checked all the boxes of success and achievement and financial abundance and still feel as though they're searching for something, this process allows you to really cultivate kind of true happiness. And the unintended consequence is that which you're seeking actually comes much easier. So all those areas of your lives are going to be so much more expansive. It's really great. All right. So again, I'm a happiness coach. I'm also an intuitive. That's what helps me like really kind of see people in this special way. And today, I just really wanted to talk about fear and give some insights on it, from my perspective, and touch on what the spiritual significance is, right? So first of all, I think it's important to note that fear is a natural human emotion, right? Like, and it arises when we perceive a threat to our well-being, our safety, or our security. And that is kind of like its intended meaning, right? Like it is intended to let you know when something is in your experience that could prove to be harmful, right? And so during these times, we want fear to come up because that's what really allows us to stay safe. And what has happened kind of over the span of time is we began to see fear in many aspects of our life. So it manifests itself as kind of like this anxiety, as worry, as panic. There's like phobias that come up. And so while it can be helpful in a dangerous situation where there is actually a bear and that fight or flight sensation arises, it is much less beneficial when it's kind of this nagging emotion and you're living in this constant state of fight or flight, right? Because that means your body is in this high awareness state and you do not have energy available to use to create, right? And so when you don't have energy to create, then you're really in this space where you're kind of like circling around the same issues over and over and over again, and you may not even realize it, right? So that's what happens when you're in this state of angst, this state of worry, this state of panic. You don't have available energy to just have that which you're really seeking. So we don't want to be in this kind of low grade state of fear on a very consistent basis. And that's really what happens. So it serves at that point as an obstacle to like fully embracing life and experiencing happiness on a really consistent basis, right? Because whichever one is in your current experience, the other can't be there. So if you're in angst, worry, and panic, then by definition, you can't be at peace, have joy, and happiness, right? And so from a spiritual perspective, you really have to acknowledge that fear is often just an illusion. It's really a false perception. And the way that we know that is true is because so often we are in this state of worry, and that which we're worrying about never comes to pass, right? So I want you to just like pause right here with me, whether you're listening live with me now, thank you so much for joining, or if you're listening to this replay, just take a second and think like, how often have I worried, been in a state of angst, been ruminating about something, and it doesn't even come to pass? And so that was me. That was like, I was in this constant state of like, what if? What if this happens? What if this happens? Oh my gosh, do you think this is going to work out? What if I don't get the job? What if I, bomb the interview? What if I don't win the race? Right. And so I always had these what ifs that ended like with the most negative outcome. And I wasn't really sitting in this space of like, what if I win? Like, what if I show up in this really beautiful way? And the problem with that is that the majority of our life is leading up to the moments, which means that then the majority of your life, you're really kind of in these really dense emotional state. Your fight or flight response is turned on, and that doesn't allow you again to kind of be in these really joyful moments. And that's why when you achieve the thing, you actually aren't happy. You're excited in the moment because the path was really fraught with friction, right? So the whole way towards your goal, you were in this state of unease, right? And so the more unease we invite into our life, that we have in our life, the less likely we are to really be able to like increase our happiness set point. And then we're just going from goal to goal to goal, believing that the goal will make us happy. But the unfortunate truth is that when we don't shift our mindset to be happy along the journey, then that outcome is really just a split second. And then you're there for that split second, and then you have to be on to the next thing because you're still searching, right? Because life is made up of many moments. And so no kind of final destination can make you happy if the many moments are spent in fear and disconnection, right? So fear is not being connected to ourselves, right? It is a separation. We were put on this planet to be in a state of joy and happiness. And I want to repeat that because I think sometimes it's like so simple and we don't align with that. Like, we were put here to be in a state of joy, in a state of happiness. Now, the lesson in this lifetime is to figure out how to get there, right? And the ways are really available to all of us, right? But until we actually acknowledge, like, oh, this isn't how life is meant to be. And the challenge with that is that oftentimes you will have kind of peers and friends really saying things like, oh, the more successful you are, it's really hard to find people to be happy for you. I remember growing up, there is a quote by Bette Midler, and it says, the hardest part of success is finding people to be happy for you. But that's just a thought, right? But imagine a life where you believe that. And there was this long time in my life where I believed that people wouldn't be happy for me the more successful I was. So I was living kind of this state of like trying to achieve, but in the back of my mind, knowing that people weren't going to be happy for me. And that means that my subconscious was going to have a limit to that which I could achieve, because my subconscious is going to be like, well, would we want to have a life where people aren't happy for us, where people aren't supportive of us? And so that created this kind of artificial ceiling in my life. But now I know that my people are always going to be there for me. They're going to support me. And that's who I invite into my life, into my experience, right? So there's 8 billion people in the world, and I do not expect that everyone will love everything that I do, but I really just invite people to kind of join me in this space, in this time, who have aligned beliefs, who find value in who I am as a person, what I bring kind of through this work. And when you look through life at that lens, then the whole journey is really beautiful. And you start to feel these really great experiences where people are super aligned with the work that you're doing, with how you show up in the world, because you have gotten to a point of being aligned with it, right? And so when instead we have these kind of fear-based thoughts about how the world will show up, then we again create a ceiling to that which we can achieve, because unfortunately, right, our subconscious, our egoic self is not going to allow us to do something that we believe there's a negative association to it, right? So it really is this false perspective and fear outside of like an actual bear coming towards you. It's just not real. It's something we've created. It's something that society has perpetuated, and it has this kind of collective consciousness, right? Part of it can be fed through our own judgments, right? So if you are someone who isn't happy for others, then you will more likely receive similar feedback to yourself, right? So we create these beliefs, and fear by definition is really the opposite of love. And so we get to choose love. We get to choose peace. We get to choose joy. And the reason it feels so good is because it is truly who we are meant to be. And the reason fear, worry, angst, panic don't feel good to us, because intrinsically that is not who we are meant to be in this lifetime, right? And so it is a state of disconnection from your true self. And that's how you always know when you're not on the right path. When you're not on the right path, it doesn't feel good. It's really so straightforward, right? And so you want to be on this path that feels really good to you very consistently, right? And so I know we've talked a lot about scarcity and lack and suffering. And so when we have these fear-based thoughts, these beliefs, we are in this state of suffering and lack. And once you are able to realize that this is a situation that we have over time through the help of many people, right? Through the help of the collective consciousness, probably through our family lineage, we've created this illusion. And more importantly, we have this beautiful power to move through it, to move past it, right? And realize that underneath all of that is like this ability to unite and have unity and love. So, I think there are some really practical ways that I help my clients work through that, you know, not just come from spiritual teachings, which I do believe in deeply, but also evidence-based practices of positive psychology and cognitive behavioral work that help you kind of identify the underlying beliefs and thoughts that are driving these kind of fear situations. And really, we can develop tools for reframing these beliefs and cultivating kind of a more empowering mindset. And so many of these things are similar to what we've talked about, and that's the beauty of it, right? So we'll continue to do these lives and we'll talk about the work. After you've identified the beliefs, kind of the change process is oftentimes the same, right? But you first have to identify, what beliefs do I have that are creating these experiences? And then how are those experiences showing up in my life, right? And so I always tell people, if there's one thing that you can do, if you cannot afford to work with a coach, if you don't have a ton of time in your day yet, and you are just looking for one thing to do, the thing that I would really urge everyone to do is meditate, right? When you meditate, you connect your low brain with your high brain. Your high brain is really kind of the intellectual epicenter of your brain, and it's going to allow you to not be in this state of fight or flight, to not be in this primitive state of making decisions. And you're going to have this really more full, rich, beautiful experience when you can operate from the front of your mind versus kind of your low brain, which is in and of itself really around survival, right? So when you get out of that survival mode and into your high brain, in which meditation helps connect the two, you're going to just see this much more beautiful life for yourself, right? Also, we've talked about in the past kind of gratitude practices, reframing your limiting beliefs. These three things for sure are going to help you move out of this fear state. And we want to just practice them consistently. I oftentimes will have people say, like, oh, I meditated for a week. I didn't really see a difference, right? But you've been who you are for 20, 30, 40 plus years. And so we can't expect kind of these like really quick turns, right? I have found that there is really some beautiful energy work that can help shift our beliefs and therefore our experiences much more quickly. But some of these other modalities and things that you implement in your life, you have to have, patience and make sure that you think, I have to practice this just as consistently as I was practicing that belief, which was guiding my previous experiences, right? And also start always by setting an intention to change, right? So all of these kind of reframing limiting beliefs, meditation, gratitude practice, they're going to help you develop a greater sense of inner peace. You're going to see that you're more resilient. You're going to have more joy. And your outlook on life, your approach to life will be one that isn't full of fear. You're going to have really great confidence that you are able to achieve all that you set your mind to. And then when you have this really beautiful path, you're going to feel much more at ease, right? So as a reminder, I'll close here by just saying, fear is really a natural emotion, right? And in some ways it can be helpful, and we want to help move through the ways in which it is hindering us. And so know that it really is separation. It's a lack, it's scarcity. When you're worrying about things or fearing things that aren't most likely going to come to pass, right? And so I want to recognize and release any limiting beliefs, judgments that we have that are really reflecting back to us. And really, more than anything, as we kind of sit in this space, as I always say, of prioritizing joy, we realize again that changing the world is an inside job. And so each one of us must first change ourselves. And from there, we will have this beautiful domino effect. Imagine 8 billion people who are truly happy. What a world we would have. So I work with clients to help develop these skills and practices that they need to overcome fear and cultivate a much more empowered mindset, and I would love to work with you. I know oftentimes people feel like they are on this rat race where they're searching and searching for what will truly make them happy. They've checked all the boxes for achievement, and they still find that they haven't increased their happiness set point. And so I felt the same way. I was that same human who, checked all the boxes, trying out for the Olympics, becoming a VP by a certain age, winning all of the awards at work, marrying my dream guy, having a beautiful family home and life, and still wondering, like, how do I have this sense of purpose, this sense of fulfillment? And so what I found is that we really have to change this paradigm. We really have to think instead that the goal in life is happiness. And once we raise our happiness set point, you will see that you have more ease and flow in your life. And the unintended consequence of raising your happiness set point is that all that you are seeking will come to you much more easily. Your life will no longer be fraught with the level of friction that you previously had. So I invite you all to work with me. We're going to drop in the comments a link to sign up for our webinar. To sign up for our program, which is launching on June 6th. It's called the Joy Blueprint. If you sign up prior to June 6th, then you do get a free coaching call with me. And I would love to have you guys join the program. It's a 4-week program where every day will take you through my proprietary process, which is called BASE. And it really is like beliefs. What beliefs do you have that are creating your experiences? How do you move into alignment? What alignment have you previously been circling around? S is self-awareness. What are we doing that are helping to create the experiences that we currently have? And then E is emotional resistance. Like, how do we clear the emotional resistance that we keep kind of going back to, right? So oftentimes we have these experiences in our lives that, really impacted us significantly. And so we want to keep the memory of those experiences, but really release the dense emotion that is surrounded with them. And when we do that, then we no longer are pulled back to those experiences. So would absolutely love for you guys to join us. We will add that and pin it in the comments once we finish here. It is $497 for the 4-week course, and you belong in that course. It will definitely impact your life positively. Thanks so much for joining me. Whether you've joined me live or if you join at a later date, feel free to always leave comments and questions for me. We do always circle back and make sure that we answer them. Sending you all lots of love. Be well.